All right, sixth grade, welcome back to another video. Mr. Morris, and with Mr. Morris, that is, and it's Math Lessons with Mr. Morris, and that's the name of this program. So let's get into it. We're going to be looking at absolute value, and we're going to be talking about a couple different things. We're going to talk about how to order them and compare them. But the first thing you're going to have to learn is, well, what is absolute value? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to list the rules for you to find absolute value and what it is, and I'm going to use a couple of examples. All right, so the first thing you're going to do with absolute value is you have to take the number, and I'm going to show you what it looks like. Let's say I give you the number negative 28, and to know that it's absolute value, you're going to have these lines on the outside. That's going to tell us we're talking about absolute value. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to list the rules on the screen for you, and I'm going to read them to you. The first thing we do is we take this number, negative 28, and we strip it down. I mean, we strip it down to basically just what's left. We eliminate these bars, and we eliminate this sign. And what you're left with is 28. That's the absolute value, okay? Now, you're going to say, well, what is absolute value? Well, the first rule I said was to strip down the signs. Okay, you strip down the signs, and all you keep is the number. Okay? Now, to figure out what the absolute value is, it's the number, okay? The number's distance from 0. Okay, so if this is a number line, and here's 0, your number now becomes 28. So the absolute value is, it's basically 28 jumps to get to that number. So the absolute value is 28. It's the distance, that number's distance from 0. So we're eventually going to get into comparing these and then ordering them based on stripping them down, getting the absolute value, and then deciding which of the two numbers, when you see it, which two numbers are bigger, or if I give you 4 numbers, how to put those orders, how to put those numbers, that is, in order from least to greatest or greatest to least. Okay, so let me clear this out, and we'll do a couple of samples. Okay, so we're going to be looking for absolute value, and this is the early stages of finding absolute value. This is the basic stuff, because when we start comparing them and ordering them, it's going to require a little bit more skill. Okay, so let's see what I got here. I took some notes. Let me see what numbers I have. I have some samples I want to show you. Okay, so the first one, what we did was, again, it was negative. Oops, don't want that. It was negative 28. So it's absolute value of negative 28. So when we strip it down, it's just 28, and that's the absolute value. Okay, and it's going to work with any number I gave you. You strip away the signs. Okay, so if I give you the number 5 and I want to know, well, what's the absolute value of 5? Well, technically you don't see the sign, but the sign is positive. Okay, we strip it away, and what are you left with? Just the number 5. The absolute value is 5. Now, let me give you a fraction. The absolute value of negative 2/5. Well, strip away the sign. Get rid of the sign. What are you left with? 2/5. And then now let's give you a decimal. I'm going to give you every possible type of number. Negative 4.4. And there are the lines on the side. That's your absolute value. Strip it away. Strip away these. Strip away these. Get rid of the sign. And what are you left with? 4.4. These are all absolute value. And that's going to be the first part of the lesson. Making a number and getting its absolute value. So if any number I give you, strip away the sign. That's the rule. You strip away the sign, and then you have the absolute value. And that's going to be the first part of our video. All right, so the second part of our video, we are going to compare two numbers. Okay, I'm going to give you two numbers, and we're going to have to compare them based on the absolute value. So we're now going to be comparing absolute value. We'll call it AV. Okay, so if I give you the number, let's say the absolute value of negative 8, and I give you the number, the absolute value of negative 7. okay? And I say, okay, let's figure out what the absolute value is. We can't compare them yet. We have to first make them or find out what their value is. So we strip away the signs. We strip away the signs and we're left with just 8. We strip away the sign and we're left with just 7. Now, guys, now it comes back to, kindergarten work. What's bigger, 8 or 7? Well, 8 is bigger than 7, so -8 is bigger than -7 because we're talking not integers now. We're talking on a number line. If you looked at a number line, all right, here's 0. 7 is smaller than 8. That's why 8's the larger number. There is no negative and positive anymore when you're talking about absolute value. And that's the thing you're going to have to get past, okay? All right, so let me give you another one. Actually, let me leave this up. And I'm going to give you something I'm going to give you the same numbers, but I'm just going to change the signs here. All right, let's see. Let me give you this. -8, absolute value +7. So you have to do the same thing. You have to do the same thing. You have to strip it down. Strip away the signs. What are you left with? 8. What are you left with? Just 7. What's bigger? Remains the same. All right, it remains the same because still 8 on a number line for this problem right here. Here's your 0. 8's going to be the furthest. 7 is going to be closer. The larger number is the one that is the most jumps from 0. Okay, that's absolute value. That's comparing them. Okay, now you're going to use these same skills when you order them. And in a minute from now, I'm going to give you another example to tell you a little bit about ordering them. Okay, ordering them requires more work because you're dealing with, more than one, more than 2 numbers, but you're still going to have to do the same stuff I showed you here. All right, 6th grade. So the last part of our video is we are going to be taking absolute value and we are going to be ordering. All right, ordering least to greatest, greatest to least. We'll see what they want. Okay, so let me take my notes. I'm going to give you 4 numbers. Okay, I'm going to give you 4 numbers. So I'm going to give the absolute value of -25, the absolute value of 18. I'm going to give you the absolute value of -1, and I'm going to give you the absolute value of 26. Okay, so what I want now, I want you to find the least to greatest. Okay, if you want to keep this simple, strip down the signs. Strip the signs down. It becomes 25. It becomes 18. It becomes 1. It becomes 26. Okay, guys, come on. It's kindergarten. Now, tell me the biggest number you see there. Okay, the biggest number you see there is 26. But don't write it as 26. You have to write it as this. That's your largest. Okay, what's your smallest? All right, your smallest number. All right, the number that's closest to 0 would be the smallest. So it's going to be 1. But don't write it as 1. Write it as the original form. So it's going to be absolute value -1. Okay. All right, so now you have your largest, you have your smallest. Now let's just try to throw these in like if they're on a number line. Okay, if they're on a number line, here's your number line. Okay, we'll say here's 0. There's your 1. There's your 26. Just like when you converted it. And now you say, okay, well, 25 is obviously going to come next. So 25 comes next. So the way you saw it in the example was the absolute value of -25. That goes here. And then 18 was your number, but you have to write it the way you saw it, which was 18, and it's the absolute value of 18. So here are your answers. And this is how it works. Smallest, bigger, bigger, biggest. Okay, just strip it down. Doesn't matter if it's a whole number like you see up here. 18, -1, whole numbers. If it's decimals or if it's fractions, it's the same concept. Strip away the signs, and that's what you go with. Okay? And that's our video, and we're going to keep practicing this. And I'm telling you right now, when you get a test, go slow, take your time. If you race, you're going to fail. Good night, and stick around for the next video, which is coming up shortly.